So guys, today I want to make this video to talk about one of my videos I made a couple months ago about Perpetua. I talked in that video about the whole Perpetua story event not being real and it being a fake. And it's something that I guess Darkseid created and was explaining. And I got some false information from, Comic Curator. I mentioned in that video that I watched one of his videos where he talked about it and said that it was fake and that it was just a story that he constructed because he was talking about, ancient gods throughout like all mythology and stuff like that, and then mentioned her, and then it was explained that she was a part of a mythology or a story that he was telling or something like that. So I was a little confused, but from what I heard from his video was that that story wasn't real, and then when he was explaining was this was just a part of a story and a mythology that he was, orchestrating or creating. So she wasn't actually real. And I said that in the video, but now I don't really agree with that. I don't believe it because I did go to check out the comic book where it was that was supposedly mentioned or disproved her, her legitimacy and the story's legitimacy. I went to actually check out the story and read it, and I actually came with the opposite conclusion from it. Even though they didn't dive too much into her and that story event, they do mention it, and when they do mention it, it's technically, when they do mention it, it's technically not that much about her, but it does prove and confirm that it was canon. There was nothing that dispelled it from being canon except for the video that Comic Curator made. So before I get into that, I do want to give a big shout out to a new subscriber by the name of Galfatrix. Big thank you to you for subscribing to this channel. Now let's get into it. So, like I said, I when I first initially made that video, it was because I watched Comic Curator's video on it, and then he gave the explanation, and then he said, and I thought he would be at least a legit source or somebody I could take seriously. Obviously, at this point now, I know he's not somebody like that anybody should take seriously because a lot of the stuff he says is BS, and this was one of them. And the reason why he lied about this is kind of simple. It is stupid, but it's kind of simple. It's because with Perpetua being introduced, it changed the cosmology and the structure with the World Forger and all this other stuff with the Monitor. And then not only did it change the story, but it also put in a new big powerful threat like Perpetua. And it changed the scaling of the power with the Cosmic Order at least, right? And this affects apparently Cosmic Armor Superman somehow. I don't know how, but it does. And he does not like that. It makes him either look weaker or makes other characters look stronger than him and have other characters on a higher position. And he did not like that. It also changes and restructures the cosmology in a way he does not particularly like, because it goes against Cosmic Armor Superman being as powerful as he wants him to be. So he wants to, so he can argue against, for him to argue against Perpetua, he can't really make a counter argument by pointing out that she's actually technically weaker than him or lower on the scaling of the cosmology order, because they already told us that she was the highest and she was the one creating all this stuff and all this other things. So his power is based off of her power. She's clearly above him. So if his power is not if he's below her, then there's characters in the universe that are also more powerful than him instead of just, Mandrake. But also on top of that, there's the problem that if she's a little bit weaker, that makes him a little bit weaker, which also changes his levels of power. So I guess there's something with that, and that's why he didn't like it, because she would outshine him in terms of power, and then the cosmology scaling changing it would also change his position in terms of power. So I guess he didn't like that, so he tried to make a false narrative. And after watching the video, I thought he was somebody I could take legit and credible, but it wasn't true. It was BS. Now, if you guys want to actually check out the comic book issue that I read for this story event, and this was leading in for the whole Darkseid thing where he created the absolute universe, which he actually also didn't create it. He just manipulated it. And I'll explain that in this video. I read the whole issue, and this was leading into the absolute comic book series. So before this was another issue, and then it leads into that because he creates the absolute universe, and that's where we get the whole absolute comics run right now that we have from it. So this is the latest and most modern uptake on DC itself. It's not Final Frontier, which was actually at this point a few years old now. At this point, I don't know when it came out, Final Frontier, but Final Frontier is old. It's not a new concept anymore. So the newer thing is the absolute stuff. But they're still going by the Frontier timeline. It's just that they've been deep into it now. So this story point actually explains it. And if you want to check it out, you can go to DC All In special. And it says number 1, but from what I found, it had all the issues there. And it's only 55 pages. So it's not that many, it's not too much to read. It's only 55 pages. And I think it's like 3 issues put into one. But it's just called DC All In special number 1. So if you want to find it, go to that. And this is where we lead to Darkseid trying to gain more power to create this own separate universe, and have his ruling over it, creating the absolute universe and redoing the characters in his own image, right? And this is this is the frontier time, right? And this is important because they mentioned something about Perpetua in that event, and then after that event, we know when in the end of the event they didn't beat her. They just basically opened up a portal to like this. I think it was like this portal to give them another chance. I forgot. It was like to reset the time or something like that, to slip into there to give them another chance. And that's what created the, Infinite Frontier, because they said every story, every past, everything that has ever happened is going to be 100% now a part of the canon, because the creator's saying, we don't want to redo everything over and over again. So we're just going to say everything is canon, right? So that was leading into uh Infinite Frontier, not Final Frontier. I said Final, sorry for that. I think there was a game called Final Frontier, but Infinite Frontier. So in Infinite Frontier, they that was the start of that, and that's what happened there. So there was something important. Now we do hear one mention of Perpetua. It's nothing too much, but it is a mention and it does explain some stuff. It says, correct, the Alpha world. After Perpetua and the Darkest Nights defeat, our timeline was restored and we detected new worlds in the multiverse. We are the first to discover this in the Alpha world. So there's other stuff, but that's pertaining to this comic book issue itself. I read the whole thing and it was pretty interesting. It changed a lot of stuff about the cosmology. There was pretty interesting things, but I will not be covering this whole comic book issue because even though I read everything, there's a lot of stuff that I'm missing, because when I read the end of the Perpetua story event, they just ran away. There was nothing that showed them beating her. So I'm guessing when they went to the Infinite Frontier stories, they went back to try to fight her and deal with her and beat her and then stop her plans. So I haven't read that, so I'm not going to cover this. I'm going to go reread everything else because I am going to be getting into the dark metals of Dark Knight's death metal event, because somebody else wanted me to. So I'm going to get into that event. So I'm going to cover all these other events around this and then go back to rereading this and then, have a video on this one specifically, because there was quite a bit of interesting stuff they mentioned about the cosmology and Darkseid's place in it. And it was pretty interesting read. I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. And then it led into this, obviously, the Absolute Universe, which is the newest thing from DC. But they mentioned Alpha World, which was one of the worlds that she was creating, which I think she was trying to create the ultimate world or timeline for herself. And then there was mention of the Darkest Nights event, and they also mentioned Perpetua herself. And in that same page, when you go down, it basically says way back in the Dark Knight's death metal number 7. So they also reference when it happened. So clearly they are referencing and pointing out parts in that story. If it was not canon or didn't count anymore, and it was just him telling a story, a false story or whatever, right? Then what the hell would be the point of them mentioning her and then showing an issue for like one of the title issues to go back to watch it? So this completely, in my mind, disproved the whole argument that the statement that he made, and my video. I'm not going to take down the video because, I mean, I already had it up. I'm just going to refer anybody that watches it newly to watch this video where I correct myself because I was wrong that. So sorry for the false information. I wasn't trying to get, misinform anybody. It was just I got misinformation from somebody else who was trying to do that. But yeah, this is the case. Darkseid's little mission was to basically, he was tired of being a part of the cosmic order where he's supposed to be the death and destruction of life in the multiverse, and his energy gets split into separate avatars into other universes, which weakens him. But when there's one universe, he has this total power, which at this point they said they cut off the rest of the multiverse. So he had all this power combined back into him, but he just couldn't handle it. And he wanted to control over it. And um, a little bit of a review, Spectre said, hey, calm down. The multiverse will come back into place, and your energy that you have, the excess energy that is stored in this body, will be separated and dispersed into the other universes, lowering your power, and then you'll regulate your power completely. And he said, no, 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 I don't want that. I want all the total sum of my power, which is the true form Darkseid's power. I want the true power but I also want to control it and I want to use it to my own liking. I don't want to be part of the cosmological order at all. So that was the whole point of this to leave. And the alpha world was already created by Perpetua. It just wasn't fully formed. And then they beat her. And then it was like a newborn one. So they couldn't even pierce into it. But it had some energy signatures connected to Darkseid. And then he went in and did this whole event to get himself killed so he can combine in the universe and then be the god of that said universe, which is also stated to be separate from the rest of the multiverse. So it's not connected to the timeline or the space there. So anything that messes with the multiverse will not have no effect here. Anything that affects this specific universe will have no effect on the rest of the multiverse at all. So they're all separated, and that's the way he wanted it. But yeah, nothing here states that that story was not true or fake. Everything just points to, yeah, it happened and we beat him, and this is just the continuation of that. So yeah, I'm sorry for the misinformation on my original video. I was completely wrong. Don't take anything Comic Curator says serious. He's wrong too. He keeps on trying to discredit Petrol by trying to lowball her, trying to say she's not real, but he can't really lowball her too well. Because there's nothing really you can do when the writers themselves are telling you she's the biggest, she's the strongest, she's the best. So it's like, and she controls all this other stuff and narratives and stuff. So it's kind of hard to argue against that. So the only way he could do it is by saying she doesn't exist, which is just proven. And you guys, like I said, can go check it out yourself. It's once again, it's DC All In Special #1. If you want to check that out, this leads into the Absolute Universe. I will be trying to reread or not reread, but read the other stories. I will reread this one when I'm done with those. So I'll go through the Black Knight's death metal event, the whole death metal event, all of that. I'm gonna also try to get through what happened after the Perpetua stuff and the Infinite Frontier story stuff. So then I can read this one and then give it to you, explain it to you guys. But yeah, that's pretty much it. He's wrong. She is 100% canon, and I was wrong in that video. So sorry for the misinformation. Yeah, if I'm ever wrong, it's okay to tell me like, hey, you were wrong on this. I will go back and do some research or try to find any additional research to prove it. And if I'm wrong, I'll just admit it, like in this one, because I was completely wrong. That I don't want to spread that incorrect information, and it's a good thing because it would be stupid to create a whole story event like the Perpetua story event just to be like, nah, it's not canon. Let's get rid of it. It's kind of stupid, right? It's a waste, and it would be a waste to read something like that and wait for years for that stories and issues to come out and write that much just for you to be like in the story later on, yeah, this guy just made it up and talked about it and it wasn't real. Like that isn't true. That makes no sense. So yeah, that's the end of it. She is real, and there's a lot of more interesting things that are going to happen. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with Darkseid in his prime. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed and stay tuned for next time.